So, another Batman movie. I guess I'm a little excited.
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart.
With the second trailer dropping, I thought it would be fitting to discuss my thoughts on the movie, and whether or not Matt Reeves will do a good job or not. I have high hopes for this film, and honestly I think it could be the best Batman movie we've seen yet. But it needs to do its own thing. It needs to find its own area in which Batman hasn't been explored before. It needs to diversify itself from the others, and I think Matt Reeves will be able to pull this off. I really enjoy Matt Reeves' work. I also love Robert Pattinson as an actor. I think the Planet of the Apes series is a very underrated trilogy. Robert Pattinson is also a very underrated actor. He is most commonly known for being a 100-year-old pedophile who dates a high schooler. You know, when Robert was cast as Batman, it received a lot of backlash, but to me that just shows they haven't seen any of his recent movies. His acting in Tenet, Good Time, and The Devil All the Time all speak for themselves. Hell, even The Lighthouse he was fucking phenomenal in, though it did get quite a lot at times. Rob is an amazing actor and fits the build of a young, new to the whole crime fighting thing Batman quite well. I know he's not exactly pure bulk like Affleck, but Affleck was playing a much older Bruce who had old man strength and a ton of more knowledge than a younger Bruce. Rob has very lean muscle and fits near the height of actual comic accurate Batman. I don't think this early in Batman's career he needs to be pure swole. I think what he would have done is focus on his training and detective skills, obviously because that comes first. Then the weight training and physique can come later. For all those still doubting this, just think about it. If you were training to become Batman, would you master weightlifting and just be a buff dude with no detective skills or fighting ability? Or a heavily trained fighter with detective skills? Because obviously with the martial arts training he gets, he's gonna build muscle and some strength. It's gonna come along the way with it. There's no use in being a unit if you can't even put all that muscle to use because you can't fight for shit. Just remember, he's an early in his career Batman. He's gonna focus on what he needs to do to get the job done rather than looking good while doing it. From the trailers, you can already see what approach they're taking with this movie. They're going way darker for this one. The Riddler, instead of being a fucking goofball, is now a serial killer like the Zodiac. The first trailer starts off with eerie duct tape noises and really heavy breathing, painting him to be more of a fucking freak. For this movie, I really hope they dive into the detective side of Batman more, as they really haven't done it in any other movie. I mean, he's the world's greatest detective, and all we've seen is him being good at martial arts and stealth. Oh yeah, and killing.
Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law.
They also really need to get the city right as well, and lucky for us, it looks like they will. Every scene in the trailers is so darkly lit and gives off that real, authentic, depressing Gotham tone. It's also perfect how it's raining most of the time in the trailers. This is exactly how I would describe Gotham to be. Just pure depression. I also love how, instead of just using American cities like Chicago and New York, they've actually gone to the UK and, you know, started filming there because it gives that more gothic feeling, you know what I mean? It honestly looks really fitting, because I think Nolan just using Chicago and New York wasn't really fitting. You know, like, it just looked like every other blockbuster movie for that time period. Now here's my take on the Batsuit. I fucking love it. It's a mixture of Arkham Origins and the Telltale games from what I can see. Sporting a familiar look with the armored plates from the Arkham series and a little bit of innovation with the collar around the cowl. I personally like the collar, and I think it's a lot better and makes a lot more sense because he doesn't have to turn his whole body to look to the left. It definitely takes inspiration from Gotham by Gaslight. The chest piece is apparently supposed to be a gun, but I think it looks more like a batarang, to be honest. I really like how it looks more like a rough cut of the Batsuit because, you know, it's his second year. And I mean, he's doing this all DIY. I don't think he has the help yet from Lucius Fox. This Batman looks extremely brutal and looks like he'll be taking his trauma and rage out on the criminals. I feel as if the story will have something to do with his no killing rule, as he beats the living fuck out of this goon. It makes sense for a younger Batman to be a lot more brutal though, as he doesn't really know his strength yet or when to stop. One thing I couldn't stand about the Nolan films is how they portrayed Batman's fighting ability, because he's the greatest fighter and martial artist in the world. He's supposed to be so fast that you can't even reach the full extension of your punch because you're already on the fucking floor. But Bale looks so slow and looks like he has little to no power. He just looks like a brawler who's trained a little bit of kickboxing. Look at how when he fights Bane, he loads up his punches so you can see them coming and completely telegraphing his move. No trained fighter does this. His attacks don't look very calculated, as he should be trying to take them out with the most effective moves, but often resorts to pulling and pushing. But then look at this masterpiece. This gives me hope. I also love how he's just walking down machine gun fire like it's nothing. I also hope they dive into the relationship more with Batman and the police. But either over the movie or the series, they end up growing to trust and rely on him. Now the whole eyeshadow backlash. It's honestly quite stupid to me, honestly, because every other actor before Robert Pattinson has worn the eyeshadow. It's just when they take the cowl off, they magically cut to the actor having it cleaned off them. I mean, you can clearly see it here, but then they cut, clean it up, and then boom, it's magically gone. It was never there. Him still having it there is more realistic, and it makes the movie look that much better. I mean, it just makes him look that much more unprofessional and like he's an amateur and he's just starting out. I mean, the guy's wearing fucking makeup underneath a bat costume. Now, it's not the first time the Wayne family was seen to be corrupt, as they were in the Telltale series. But this concept for a movie is quite interesting, as the one thing that fuels Batman is to go out and stop criminals. Criminals. Like the criminal that killed his parents, leaving a boy alone in the street standing over his parents' corpse. But because he came to the realization that his parents were also corrupt or criminals, it could destroy his whole mission and the whole purpose of Batman being created. We saw a lot more of Penguin and Catwoman this time around. They both look really good. I think Catwoman will play more into the story, maybe being an outlet for Bruce's trauma. Colin Farrell, as you know, as everyone's been fucking saying, looks unrecognizable. And yeah, it's true. His character looks more like a side plot though. Maybe Batman will interrogate him, get some information out of him. He doesn't look like a main player. From the trailers at least. But maybe they're leaving him for a later role in the series, who knows, maybe even for the sequel. All in all, I think it looks really good, and I think it looks like the perfect Batman movie, at least for me. It releases March 4th, and you bet your fucking ass I will be waiting highly in anticipation for it.